language arts lesson. This is Mr. Campbell here. Today we're going to be talking about the exciting book called Animal Farm. Let's go ahead and review our I can statement today. I can explain the connotative meaning of the words of Old Major's tone in the first chapter of Animal Farm. Now, Animal Farm, I feel, is a really cultural and prevalent book in today's society as we are going through this whole pandemic. Your objectives today are to read Chapter 1 and answer the following question. What does the song Beasts of England use when describing a future without human beings? This book takes the exciting tone of having farm animals think they can rise up and run their own society. But as we progress in this story, you'll find out what happens in this society, because not everything turns out to be perfect in the end. Animal Farm by George Orwell. Chapter 1. Mr. Jones of the Manor Farm had locked the hen houses for the night, but he was too drunk to remember to shut the pop holes. With the ring of light from his lantern dancing from side to side, he lurched across the yard, kicked off his boots at the back door, and drew himself a last glass of beer from the barrel in his scullery, and made his way up to bed, where Mrs. Jones was already snoring. As soon as the light in the bedroom went out, there was a stirring and a fluttering all through the farm buildings. Word had gone round during the day that old Mare, the prize middle white boar, had had a strange dream on a previous night, and wished to communicate it with the other animals. It had been agreed that they should all meet in the big barn as soon as Mr. Jones was safely out of the way. Old Mare, so he was always called, though the name under which he had been exhibited was Willington Beauty, was so highly regarded on the farm, and everyone was quite ready to loose an hour's sleep in order to hear what he had to say. At the end of the big barn, on a sort of raised platform, Mayor was already encossed on his bed of straw, under a lantern which hung from a beam. He was 20 years old and had a lately grown rather stout, but he was still a majestic-looking pig, and wise and benevolent appearance in spite of the fact that he had tushes and had never been cut. Before long the other animals had begun to arrive and make themselves comfortable after their different fashions. First came 3 dogs, Bluebell, Jessie, and Pincher, and then the pigs, who settled down in the straw immediately in front of the platform. The hens perched themselves on the window sills, the pigeons fluttered up to the rafters. The sheep and cows laid behind the pigs and began to chew on the cud. The 2 carts, horses, Boxer and Clover, came in together, walking very slowly, settling down their vast hairy hoofs, with great care lest there should be some small animal concealed in the straw. Clover was a Boxer with an enormous beast, nearly 18 hands high, and as strong as any 2 ordinary horses put together. A white stripe down his nose gave him a somewhat stupid appearance, and in fact he was not a first-rate intelligence. But he was universally respected for his steadiness of character and tremendous powers of work. After the horses came Myrtle, the white goat, and Benjamin the donkey. Benjamin was the oldest animal on the farm, and was the worst tempered. He seldom talked, and when he did, it was usually to make some cynical remark, for instance. He would say that God had given him a tail to keep the flies off, but he would sooner have had no tails and no flies. Alone among the animals on the farm, he never laughed. If asked why, he would say he had nothing to laugh at. Nevertheless, without admitting it, he was devoted to Boxer. The 2 of them usually spent their Sundays together in a small padlock beyond the orchard, grazing side by side and never speaking. The 2 horses had just laid down when a brood of ducklings, which had lost their mother, filed into the barn, cheaply, feebly, and wandering from side to side to find some place where they would not be trodden on. Clover had made a sort of wall round them with their great foreleg, and the ducklings nested down inside and promptly fell asleep. At the last moment, Molly, the foolish, pretty white mare who drew Mr. Jones' trap, came menacing daintily in, chewing on a lump of sugar. She took a place near the front and began flirting with her white mane, hoping to draw attention to the white ribbons it was planted with. Last of all came the cat, who looked around, as usual, for the warmest place, and finally squeezed herself in between Boxer and Clover. There she purred contentedly throughout Mayer's speech without listening to a word of what he was saying. All the animals were now present except Moses, the tame raven, who slept on a perch behind the back door. When Mayer saw they had all made themselves comfortable and were waiting attentively, he cleared his throat and began. "Comrades, you have here already about the strange dream I had last night, but I will come to the dream later. I have something else to say first. I do not think, comrades, that I shall be with you for many months longer. And before I die, I feel it is my duty to pass on to you such wisdom as I have acquired. I have had a long life, and have had much time for thought as I lay alone in my stall. And I think I may say that I understand the nature of life on this earth as well as any animal now living. It is about this that I wish to speak to you. Now, comrades, what is the nature of this life of ours? Let's face it, our lives are miserable, laborious and short. We are born, we are given just so much food as we will keep the breath in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. And the very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery, and that is the plain truth. But this is simply part of the order of nature. It is because this land of ours is so poor that it cannot afford a decent life to those who dwell upon it. No, comrades, 1,000 times no. The soil of England is fertile. Its climate is good. It is capable of affording food in abundance, and it is an enormously greater number of animals than it now inhabit it. The single farm of ours would support a dozen horses, 20 cows, hundreds of sheep, and all of them living comfort and a dignity that are now almost beyond our imagining. Why then do we continue this miserable condition? Because nearly the whole of the produce in our labor is stolen from us by human beings. There, comrades, is the answer to our problem. It is summed up in a single word: man. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk. He does not lay eggs. He is too weak to pull the plow. He cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits. Yet he is Lord of all animals. He sets them to work. He gives them the bare minimum that will prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps for himself. Our labor tills the soil. Our dung fertilizes it. And yet there is one of us that owes more than his bare skin. You cows that I see before me, how many thousands of gallons of milk have you given during this last year? And what has happened to that milk which should have been breeding up sturdy calves? Every drop of it has gone down the throats of our enemies. And you hens, how many eggs have you laid in this last year? And how many of those eggs ever hatched into chickens? The rest of you have gone to market to bury. The rest have gone to market to bring in money for Jones and his men. And you, Clover, where are those 4 fowls you bore, who should have been in the support and pleasure of your old age? Each was sold at a year old, and you will never see them again. In return for your 4 confinements and all your labors in the fields, what have you ever had except bare rations and a stall? And ever the miserable lives we're led are not allowed to reach their natural span. For myself, I do not grumble, for I am one of the lucky ones. I am 12 years old and have had over 400 children. Such is the nature life of a pig. But no animal escapes the cruel knife in the end. You young porkers who are sitting in front of me, every one of you will scream your lives out at the block within a year. To that horror we must come. We all must come. Cows, pigs, hens, everyone. Even the horses and the dogs have no better fate. You, Boxer, the very day that those great muscles of yours lose their power, Jones will sell you to the knacker, who will cut your throat and boil you down for the foxhounds. As for the dogs, when they grow old and toothless, Joe ties a brick around their necks and drowns them in the nearest pond. It is not crystal clear then, comrades, that all the evils of this life of ours spring from the tyranny of human beings. Only get rid of man, and they produce our labor would be our own. Almost overnight, we could become rich and free. What must we do? Why, work night and day, body and soul, for the overthrow of the human race. That is my message to you, comrades, rebellion. I do not know when that rebellion will come. It might be in a week or in 100 years, but I know, as surely as I see the straw beneath my feet, that sooner or later justice will be done. Fix your eyes on that, comrades, throughout the short remainder of your lives, and above all, pass on this message of mine to those who come after you, so that the future generations shall carry the struggle until it is victorious. And remember, comrades, your resolution must never falter. No argument must lead you astray. Never listen when they must tell you that man and the animals have a common interest, and that the prosperity of one is the prosperity of others. It is all lies. Man serves the interests of no creature except himself. And among us animals, let there be perfect unity, perfect comradeship in the struggle. All men are enemies, and all animals are comrades. At this moment there was a tremendous uproar. While Mayer was speaking, 4 large rats crept out of their holes and were sitting in their hindquarters listening to them. The dogs had suddenly caught sight of them, and it was only a swift dash in their holes that the rats saved their lives. Major raised his trotter for silence. "Comrades," he said, "here is the point that must be settled. The wild creatures, such as rats and rabbits, are our friends or our enemies. Let us put it to a vote. I propose this question to a meeting. Are rats comrades?" The vote was taken, and it was agreed by an overwhelming majority that rats were comrades. They were only 4 descendants, the 3 dogs and the cat, who was afterwards discovered to have been voted on both sides. Major continued, "I have little more to say. I merely repeat, remember always your duty of amenity towards man and all his ways. Whatever goes up 2 legs is an enemy. Whoever goes upon 4 or has wings is a friend. And remember also that in a fighting against man, we must not come to resemble him. Even when you have conquered him, do not adopt his vices. No animal must ever live in a house, or sleep in a bed, or wear clothes, or drink alcohol, or smoke tobacco, or touch money, or engage in trade. All of these habits of man are evil, and above all, no animal must ever tyrannize over his own kind. Weak or strong, clever or simple, we are all brothers. No animal must ever kill any other animal. All animals are equal. And now, comrades, I will tell you about my dream of last night. I can't describe that dream to you. It was a dream of the earth as it was when man had vanished, but it reminded me of something that I had long forgotten. Many years ago, when I was a little pig, my mother and other sows used to sing an old song, which they knew only the tune, the first 3 words. I had known the tune in my infancy, but it was long since passed out of my mind. Last night, however, it came to me in a dream, and what is more, the words of the song had also come back. Words, I am certain, which were sung by the animals of long ago, have been lost to memory for generations. I will sing that song now, comrades. I am old and my voice is hoarse. But when I have taught you the tune, you can sing it better to yourselves. It is called The Beast of England. Old Major cleared his throat and began to sing, and as he had said his voice was hoarse, but he sang well, enough in a stirring tune, something between Clementine and La Cucaracha. The words rained. Now, this song relates to this question that I'm about to read to you. I'm not going to sing. Beasts of England, beasts of Ireland, beasts of every land and clime, hearken to my joyous tidings of gold future time. Soon or late the day is coming, tyrant man shall be overthrown, and the fruitful fields of England shall be trod by beasts alone. Rings shall vanish from our noses, and the harness up from our back. Bit and spur shall rust forever, cruel whips no more shall crack. Riches more than mind can picture, wheat and barley, oats and hay, clover, beans, and mangled wurzels shall be upon that day. Bright will shine the fields of England, purer shall its waters be, sweeter yet shall blow its breezes on the day that sets us free. For that day we must labor, though we die before it break. Cows, horses, geese, and turkey, all must toil for freedom's sake. Beasts of England, beasts of Ireland, beasts of every land and clime, hearken well and spread my tidings of the golden future time. The singing of the song threw the animals into a wildest excitement. Almost before Major had reached the end, they had begun singing it for themselves. Even the stupidest of them had already picked up the tune, and a few of the words, as if for the clever ones, such as the pigs and dogs, they had the entire song by heart within a few minutes. And then, after a few preliminary trials, the whole farm burst into the Beast of England in tremendous unison. The cows lowed it, dogs whined it, and the sheep bleated it, and the horse whined, and the ducks quacked it. They were so delighted with the song that they sung, it ringed right through 5 times in succession, and might have continued singing it all night if they had not been interrupted. Unfortunately, the uproar woke Mr. Jones, who sprang out of bed, making sure there wasn't a fox in the yard. He seized his gun, which always stood in the corner of his bedroom, and led a flying charge of a number 6 shot in the darkness. The pellets buried themselves in the wall of the barn, and immediately broke up hurriedly. Everyone fled to his own sleeping space. The birds jumped back into their perches, and the animals settled down in the straw, and the whole farm was asleep in a moment. However, this uprising will continue. So, once again, if you haven't yet read Chapter 1 or did not listen to me reading Chapter 1, please read Chapter 1 of Animal Farm. And I want you to, again, describe what this future without human beings means in this song, Beasts of England. Join me next time when we talk about Chapter 2. Stay tuned.